Peter Drucker. You've probably heard the name, right? He's basically the guy who invented modern management as we know it. And what's wild is his ideas are maybe even more important today than they were decades ago. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into some of his most powerful concepts. Let's start with a really foundational one. Okay, so right off the bat, Drucker hits us with this game-changing idea. He says management isn't some rigid science with a perfect formula. Nope, it's a practice, kind of like medicine, where the only thing that really matters is performance. It's a discipline, for sure, built on knowledge, but also on responsibility. So to prove just how critical management is, Drucker uses this fascinating, almost unbelievable case study. Henry Ford. I mean, think about it. Ford built one of the biggest companies on Earth, and then he almost single-handedly drove it right into the ground. So what on earth went so wrong? Well, it all came down to this one core belief that Ford just refused to let go of. He thought a business only needed an owner and a bunch of helpers. He actually actively fired anyone who showed real management potential. He just couldn't grasp this fundamental truth. When a business gets bigger, it can't be run by just one person anymore. It needs a totally new structure just to survive. And that brings us to our first huge idea, the necessary revolution. See, Drucker's point is that management isn't just a little upgrade from a one-man shop. Oh no, it is a complete reinvention of that old structure. It's a total reinvention from the ground up. Drucker uses this absolutely brilliant analogy for this. He says a small business is like an insect. It's supported by the owner's tough exoskeleton. And yeah, it's strong, but there's a hard limit on how big it can get. To become a massive, complex creature, a vertebrate, you need an internal skeleton. And that skeleton, that is management. It's the internal framework that allows for real, massive scale. Okay, so once you have that management structure in place, you've got to face what is maybe the single most important question in all of business. It's the starting point for literally everything. And it sounds so simple. What is our business? Drucker called this the theory of the business. Basically, the core assumptions that guide every single decision you make. And look, it's not about your product. It's about what your customer really values. And here's the kicker, the part you can't forget. Every single theory of the business, no matter how successful, will eventually become obsolete. Guaranteed. A classic example of this is IBM. You know, when the PC first came out, it was a massive threat to their whole mainframe empire. Most of their competitors just kind of ignored it, hoping it would go away. But IBM, they did something pretty remarkable. They accepted the PC as the new reality. They pivoted their entire theory of the business and actually became a leader in the PC market, leaving all their rivals in the dust. So how do you avoid becoming obsolete yourself? Drucker's advice is genius. Study your non-customers. He argued that the very first signs of a major market shift, the earthquake tremors, they always come from the people who aren't buying from you. They are your window into the future. And that brings us to another huge idea that Drucker saw coming decades before anyone else, the rise of the knowledge worker. And this isn't just some small tweak. It fundamentally rewrites the entire rulebook between employers and employees. Here's how it breaks down. In the old model, right, the manual worker was a cost, something to be managed and minimized. But the knowledge worker, they're an asset, something to be developed. You can't just bark orders at them. You have to treat them like partners. And why? Because they own the real means of production, the knowledge that's locked inside their own head. This insight is it's profound. Managing people, he says, is a marketing job. The whole question flips from what do we want from them to what do they value? What do they consider to be results? You're not just giving them a job anymore. You are constantly, relentlessly selling them on the mission. All right, now we're getting to the absolute core of Drucker's philosophy. This is a distinction so powerful, it can literally make or break any organization. And here it is, efficiency. That's about doing things right. And yeah, it's essential. It's the minimum for survival. But effectiveness, that's about doing the right things. And that is the true foundation for all success. Drucker put it perfectly with this quote. I mean, just think about it for a second. You could run the world's most efficient, highest quality buggy whip factory. It simply doesn't matter. Being excellent at the wrong thing is a guaranteed path to failure. Effectiveness has to come first. So finally, Drucker argues that management is way more than just a tool for business. He saw it as a liberal art, a practice that is absolutely essential for our whole society to function and to progress. And this is the ultimate goal. Good management isn't about control or power. It's about creating a system where ordinary human beings can do extraordinary things. It's about making our strengths effective and our weaknesses irrelevant. It's how we build things, how we create knowledge, and ultimately, how we serve each other. And so we end with the question Drucker believed every single one of us, every knowledge worker, has to ask ourselves. And it shifts the focus from managing other people to managing yourself. In a world that's constantly changing, the only way to stay relevant, to be effective, and to find real meaning in what you do is to continually ask, what is my contribution?